You're like,
Mhm.
oh my
Mhm.
gosh, how did I get stuck with this person? And they're thinking the same thing about us. So let's just be clear about that. Like my husband thinks the same thing about me, right? It's that normal marital hatred. This is the work. This is the thing to work through, right?
Mhm.
There's this other thing on the other side of this experience.
Mhm.
When we say, oh yeah, okay, that normal marital hatred is a thing. Let me be intentional about the other winning strategies,
Yeah.
right? So that we can make our way through this.
I want to talk about love because love came
Yeah.
up. How would you define love? Because the definition of love that we have is just like
Uh,
not correct, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, love is fleeting. I like to think of it as cherishing. And when I think of cherishing, I think of love in action, not just
mhm.
a feel good emotion, but also like putting in the reps and like putting it into practice. Cause in some ways talk is cheap
Mhm.
and just kind of using the word love. If it doesn't ever feel like love, then you're missing it.
I think that that's like the major thing, right? I love the title that we chose, right? Beyond the honeymoon. The honeymoon phase is
Yeah.
over. And
Yeah.
now, is there even love left, right?
So can I talk about that? That
Yes.
I was looking forward to us getting to this part.
Yeah.
So just like we have harmony, disharmony, repair, a long-term relationship has three phases. Love without knowledge. So think about the beginning of any relationship. You got the feel good hormones going. You got everyone's on their best behavior.
Mhm.
You're like, ooh, this is magical. It feels so good. That's what we describe as love,
Mhm.
but it's incomplete.
Mhm.
And then we shift into the phase of relationship that I call the messy middle. It's knowledge without love. And that's the moment that you wake up next to your partner and you see their hair sticking out all over if they have hair. And you smell their morning breath and you know, how they gag themselves every time they try to brush their teeth and what's in their bank account, if anything, and like all of those things. And so then it's just knowledge without love. And
Mhm.
it's like the mysticism of marriage, like I've been had. Like, where's this person
Yes.
that I
Mhm.
thought that had married? Right.
Yeah. Mm.
And again, that's the stage that things can start to fall apart because we don't put in the work of coming face to face with the fact that this is the person that we decided to be in relationship with. And if it weren't this person's annoying qualities, the next partner is going to have their own set of annoying qualities. And like I mentioned before, I'm not always the light. I have my own set of annoying qualities
Mhm.
that my partner has to deal with. So when we can make our way through that, when we can hold the
Yeah.
tension of that, then we
Mhm.
get to knowing love. That's where I'm so thankful that my husband and I are at that place. Again, it's never perfect, right? There's always the harmony, disharmony,
Yeah.
repair, but it's understanding. It's horrible and amazing at the same time. And I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. How is that landing as far as our conversation about love
You
and
saw me laugh.
long-term relationships and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, I talk to my individual therapist all the
Yeah,
time about this, that it wouldn't
totally.
matter who the other person
Doesn't
is.
matter.
I would have had some kind of something, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That moment that you're like, I've been had. Can I, it makes me think. So my husband and I got married. He was in the military at the time. So we drove from Alabama to Arizona. And because we were so young, we had almost nothing. And by the time we got to Arizona, we were driving in this little pickup truck with all of our worldly possessions in a little U-Haul behind us. And by the time we got to Arizona, I jumped out of the cab of that truck and I was like, what was I thinking? I want a divorce. Like this is not going to work. And how many moments do we have that? I mean, how many moments where we're
Absolutely.
like, this is
Absolutely.
unbearable?
Right. Right.
and it's also great.
Yeah.
And in RLT, we have what we call relational reckoning.
Mhm.
Is what I'm getting out of the relationship, does that make it worth what I'm having to grieve that I'm not getting?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be an element of grief
Uh-huh.
about what I'm not getting
Right,
because
right, right.
my partner is human.
Right. Yep, exactly. That is so true. Like, I think about this all the time that, like, it wouldn't matter. Like, 1, my issues are gonna be my issues, right, that
We
I am
take
bringing in,
ourselves. Yeah. Hmm.
right? Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
So, that's me, I'm gonna be there.
That's true. Unfortunately. Yes.
Yeah. And so, that's one thing. And the other part of it is that, it doesn't, there are those moments of like just complete, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Hmm.
Why did I do this to myself? Exactly in the words that you said, right? I want out. Like, and I have to like remind myself that, okay, so if I'm wanting out of this, what do I think another relationship will look like, right?
That's
With a
it.
different person, with a
That's
different
it.
set of, goodness and badness or
Sure.
issues, right?
Humanity. Humanity. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So I think that that's such an important thing. And you used a word that I was really curious about. You said in RLT, it's called about this issue.
Relational reckoning.
Yes, that. Can
Yeah.
you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. No, yeah, it is that moment that we're like so for myself, one of my cues
Mhm.
is, oh, good gravy. This would be so much easier on my own. Like I could just be a single lady and be a dog mom and like life would be good, right? And that's my cue to like slow your roll, sister.
Yeah.
And don't believe everything you think. But explore this a little bit more because yeah,
Right.
in this moment you're disappointed about this thing.
Yeah.
There's some disappointment. And when we're
Mhm.
disappointed, there's some grief. And grief is
Mhm.
another thing that we don't do well in our society, but that's maybe another conversation for another day, right? There's a lot of grief and loneliness when we act in grown up, mature relational ways, right?
Mhm.
That's part of what we're getting into. So when I experience that loneliness and grief through that disappointment,
Mhm.
it's kind of checking in with myself. Yes, there are these things that are hard. Are the things that I'm getting that I appreciate and that I cherish, do those things outweigh the things that I'm grieving that I'm disappointed about? And when I slow myself down and get really truly honest with myself about that, then the answer is yeah. Like you said,
Mhm.
if I traded in this partner, it would be trading in for someone else with their own positive and negative, their own humanity.
Yeah.
I would take myself and my patterns into any
Mhm.
future relationship. And yes, there are moments that this is horrible, but there are more moments that it is beautiful and tender and fun
Yep.
and like these other things.
Yep.
Does that help
Absolutely.
to, yeah, does that help to frame
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that helps like explain it even more. Um and it's coming back to the definition of love, right?
Uh huh.
um I think that that warm, fuzzy, magical feeling is like just I say that that's more like lust and infatuation,
Hmm.
and not so much, what real love or love really looks like, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I it's work. I have to remind myself of that constantly, right? That
Hmm.
that is not what it looks like. And yes, you will have moments of that,
Hmm.
but then comes real life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Well,
Once real life hits.
yeah. Yeah. And there comes real life, like in all aspects of our life, right? How many of
Mhm.
us have been excited about a new job and we're like, this is the perfect job. And then
Mhm.
we get in and we're like, oh, this is real life. Here it is.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
not, it has its benefits and then it has its things that don't feel great.
Yeah.
And I think that's life. I think so much of our society frames like life should be easy. right?
Mhm.
You shouldn't have to put a lot of effort. You should never be disappointed. If you are
Mhm.
disappointed or it's work, then you're doing it wrong,
Yeah.
or you should get out, you know?
Yeah. I agree. That is something very important. The job thing hit too, right?
Yeah. Well,
um.
it's interesting because even in therapy, one of the things that I say to people right out of the gate is, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to do some work. And it's not always going to feel great. That's part of it. Change by nature is uncomfortable,
Mhm.
right? We have to have enough safety or enough pain to want to do things differently, because
Right.
otherwise our brains want, homeostasis and,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, it's hard work, and sometimes
Mhm.
people say, "This is uncomfortable and this is hard work," and I look and I say, "Yeah, it is, I agree.
Yeah.
Remember we said that it was going to be."
Yeah. And so, when do you think, or do you think at all, when couples come to you, there are situations which are just not going
Mhm.
to be resolvable, and those people just have to part ways? Like, what is this, what are some signs of that you see, or in
Mhm.
your opinion, even when they do put in the work, it's not going anywhere?
Well, I will say like, the starting point of it is, the couples that come in and maybe one partner is invested in doing the work and the other partner isn't, and
Mhm.
no matter how much you try to help that partner understand how their dynamics are impacting the relationship, they're not able to or choose not to see it.
Mhm.
That's really going to go nowhere. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that kind of situation is, that's one person wanting to do the work.
Right.
Otherwise, if we have two people who are motivated, then, anything is possible. We do have what we call preconditions in RLT.
Mhm.
And those preconditions are, um, any kind of, violent or abusive acting out. Couples
Mhm.
therapy is contraindicated. I think most of
Mhm.
us are aware of that.
Mhm.
If there is an active affair, we contract that the involved partner will put the affair or relationship on hold, at least while we do, the
Mhm.
couples work, because otherwise
Yeah.
that's going to go nowhere.
Mhm.
Um, any significant mental health issues that are not being taken care of, that would be a precondition. But otherwise, when humans are motivated, we believe in making deep characterological changes in a
Mhm.
pretty quick period of time
Yeah.
in this work.
Yeah.
I don't know that that
Do you
really answered your question,
No,
though.
it did. It absolutely did. That was very helpful. Um, what about neurodivergent couples,
Mhm.
or when one person is neurodivergent?
Yeah, yeah. So here's the beautiful thing about that. We take all of that into consideration and we understand the biological components of that
Mhm. Mhm.
and the neurological components of that. But then also we take a look at the relational components.
Mhm.
Yeah, your neurodivergence makes things more difficult relationally in these ways. Are you willing to acknowledge the impact on your partner
Mhm.
and put some work in around that,
Mhm.
right? Because then we can negotiate
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
from a from a collective. Does that help answer your question
Yes,
about that? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's the frustration of one partner would be, okay, there's just no understanding
Right.
or no empathy. Even if they do have like the feelings, they're unable to express it, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
neurotypical people,
Right.
whatever that means, right? I
Uh-huh.
always say it's a
Yeah.
spectrum. We're all somewhere
Yes.
on it.
Somewhere on it. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
that is, I think, the major thing. Have you seen couples where you've had to like walk a neurodivergent person more so through like expressing
There's some
better?
coaching.
And
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we totally, so the third phase of RLT is skills. And in those
Uh-huh.
skills, there's a lot of coaching.
Yeah.
And sure, people with neurodivergence need some coaching, people who didn't, even outside of, the way that their brains operate, if someone has a history of not understanding or not experiencing or not learning what empathy is outside of their brain state, that there's still the coaching on empathy, right? There's still the coaching on if someone came from a family where emotions simply weren't addressed, acknowledged, talked about, we do coaching around that.
Yeah.
So it's, it's taking a look. So for me, it's not my neurodivergence. I have chronic health issues that
Mhm.
over the years have impacted uh, uh, that can impact my relationship.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
it's not like there's going to be a magic wand that
Mhm.
addresses all of those chronic health issues. It's
Mm.
how do I respond relationally to acknowledge the ways that it does impact my relationship, not just with my husband, but with my kids, with, friends. The beautiful thing about RLT is that, yes, it is impactful in our romantic relationships, but it's been so amazing to see how it has impacted my relationship with my adult kids and with
Yeah.
friendships and stuff, and
Yeah.
even with my family of origin. It's just
Yeah.
has been really
I was
beautiful.
gonna say that
Yeah.
RLT sounds like it's not just couples therapy
No,
specific,
yeah.
right? It's all relationships. And
It
then again,
is.
love plays a role in all of
Mhm.
our relationships, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's another thing I remind people that, like, okay, you're putting
Mhm.
all your love and energy into this one person. How about take some of this and
With
like
other yeah.
distribute it out
Mhm.
so that like
Mhm.
you're not just focused on this. Maybe you and your
Yeah.
partner do need a little bit of a breather, not that like separation or anything, but
No, no, no,
like
yeah, yeah,
putting
yeah.
all that burden on one person
It's a
is
lot of
also
yeah, that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of
yeah,
undue and unfair weight to put on one
right.
person for
Right.
sure.
One of my best friends will, and we don't live in the same town, so it's always over the phone, but she always asks me, she'll say that, okay, they're behaving this way or they have this action. Why are you taking it personally? Why does it have to be about
Uh-huh.
you?
Yeah.
Like it can be their own. And she's not a therapist.
Yeah.
She hasn't studied psychology,
Yeah.
but just like the wisdom of it, right? That you don't
I
have to take every action personally.
I love that. In RLT, we call that a protective psychological boundary, right?
Mhm.
Everything,
Mhm.
all of our interactions are filtered through this psychological boundary. And
Mhm.
the filter is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it about me or is it about the other person? And I get to decide my use of my own protective boundary. I get to decide what comes in.
Right.
So there are things that in the past I would have been super sensitive about that now I'm like, no, that wasn't kind. I don't need to let that in.
Yeah.
Maybe they're having a bad day. I don't know. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. I don't need to add meaning to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I say this about anyone, right? Just not just in romantic relationships, that a lot of the times when somebody doesn't smile at you or seems like they're
Mhm.
coming off as like mean or angry, it's not about
Mhm.
you, it's about them. We're
Yeah.
very self-centered as human
Yes.
beings.
Yes, very egocentric for sure.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
so to let those things go because it's
Yeah.
not necessarily targeted at you.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked about the losing
Yeah.
strategies. What about
Yeah.
the winning strategies? What are some of the
Yeah.
winning strategies?
So the winning strategies would be one, daring to rock the boat in a relational way, to risk disappointment, to enter into the vulnerability and risk disappointment and ask for
Mhm.
what we're wanting,
Yeah.
um, in a behavioral and specific way. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times it kind of falls flat because we're like, I just want you to be nice or whatever, without saying, it would be really helpful if you said this in this way. Um, and then allowing allowing time for the change and celebrating it, right? A lot of times we can get really critical. Well, it's
Mhm.
too late, it's not enough, you're only doing it because I asked you to. How much sense does that make? You're only doing it because I asked you to? Well, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
So celebrating that change, when we advocate for what we want. Um,
Mhm.
the second winning strategy is speaking to make things better. So
Mhm.
making a request instead of a complaint. having our communication be specific and future oriented instead of complaining from the past, using I statements, right?
Mhm.
Thinking, how would this land? So, thinking, don't let a good message get lost in a bad delivery. That's the second second winning strategy. The next one, I think, is the hardest one, listening to understand.
Mhm.
So many times we have ineffective communication because we have two speakers and no listeners.
Mhm.
So, really being willing to put ourselves in our partner's shoes, asking those clarifying questions, remembering that objective reality is not the goal. And we don't even have to agree with our partner's experience or perspective, but we do need to understand where they're coming from. And then listening with generosity, like scanning for
Mm.
yes. So often we can fall into, I've done this in my parenting as well. No, you can't do that. No, you can't have that. I'm not even really going to listen to what you're asking me for. I'm just going to tell you no.
Yeah.
And leading with love and a generous heart and asking myself, what's it going to cost me?
Mhm.
What will it cost me to put the cup in the dishwasher?
Yeah, yeah.
It's good for our ecology. It's good for our biosphere for us to be generous with one another. And then that fifth one is cherishing, like putting that love into action. Being
Mhm.
intentional. We expect these really beautiful, deep connections with our partners, but we're not putting our phones down. We're not scheduling,
Mhm.
one-on-one time with one another. We're not voicing appreciation. We're not doing things, what's a good sign of relationality? Doing less of what my partner doesn't like and doing more of what my partner likes
Mhm.
and them doing the same.
Yeah. And also appreciating that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
definitely
sit
part of the
down,
cherishing.
right? I sit down and think about all the stuff my husband does and has changed and all the effort he's
Yes.
put in. I have to
Yes.
intentionally do
That's
that
it.
because it's so much easier to look at the stuff he hasn't done
That's it.
versus the stuff that he has.
Yeah.
And I have to be very intentional about that.
And that goes back to that relational reckoning that we were talking about before. If
Mhm.
I'm, balancing out like when I'm getting, and so I have to really be clear with myself, like, okay, who's gonna put gas in the car? Who's gonna replace the light? Like those logistical things, but then also
Right, right.
like,
They're tiny.
yeah, but then also like, yeah, who's gonna know that inside joke? Like you would have to train someone entirely new. That's gonna take a long time.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
These are the
Eh,
things that he's doing that are great.
yeah, absolutely. Even the little things, absolutely. And I honestly think my husband has made quite big changes, and, like, I have to remind myself, and I talk through my own therapy in this, that,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would be able to do what he has done, and so just keeping that in mind and, like
I would even invite us to think not just even the little things, but especially the little things.
yeah.
Because if the disrepair or the disharmony is like the 1,000 paper cuts over time,
Mhm.
then the repair is acknowledging the small good things over
Mhm.
time.
Absolutely. There's so many of them.
There's so many when we look for them and when we allow
Yeah.
ourselves to see them. But that historical part of us, that what we call the adoptive child part, that part's never going to acknowledge those things,
Yeah.
right? So if I find myself in a space of like, he's always a jerk, then I know I need to bring myself back to center. I need to regulate my nervous system, bring my
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex back online, stop looking through those old historical lenses.
Yeah. I know, this is long, but that's okay. I can always split. But this is such an important topic and such a good conversation. Knowing without or loving without knowing, and then knowing without loving,
Yeah.
and then I think the last one is mature loving
Knowing
with
love.
knowledge,
Yeah.
knowing
Knowing
love.
love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Knowing love. Does marital hatred somewhere fall in here?
Yes,
Like,
that's the
how does that
second
fit in
base.
here?
Have you heard the
Okay.
phrase before? It's one of my favorites.
I have not. I
Uh-huh.
just, like, was trying to understand, and I think the word came up, and that's why I was like,
Yeah.
"Let me bring it up because it
Yeah.
fits somewhere in here."
So Terry Real calls it normal marital hatred, which I
Okay.
love. I love the phrase because isn't it
Mhm.
true? You're like,
Mhm.
"Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, how did I get stuck with this person?" And they're thinking the same thing about us. So let's just be clear about that. Like my husband thinks the same thing about me, right? It's that normal marital hatred that you're like, yes, but when we normalize it and when we're like, yes, this is the work, this is the thing to work through, right?
Mhm.
There's this other thing on the other side of this experience that can keep us in the work and in the game, right? When
Mhm.
we say, oh yeah, okay, that normal marital hatred is a thing. Let me be intentional about cherishing. Let me be intentional about the other winning strategies, right? So that we can make our way through this. It's not dissimilar and kind of those that arc mirrors what oftentimes couples experience in their family lives as well, right? So it's love without knowing, it's that early relationship, and then that messy middle part is when kids come along, you're trying to raise kids and build careers and like all of that stuff all at the same time.
Mhm.
So there's a lot going on developmentally in the relationship
Mhm.
and, with each partner. And yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So yes, thank you for naming the normal marital hatred because it's one of my favorite phrases.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, "Huh, how does this fit in?" Because I understand because we all have, like, felt it.
We all know it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we all know it, and it's like it's interesting and it is very it's hard to move past it because then all we think about is this hatred that we have, right? And we're
All our
angry.
adaptive child. Yeah. All our adaptive child will focus on is
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
hatred. Yep.
Right. And our wise
Okay.
adult, we know to scan for cherishing. We know to scan for generosity. We know to scan for the things that our partner is doing right,
Mhm, mhm.
in
Yeah.
addition to the things that they miss.
Can you tell me more about the mature, loving, mature, knowing
Yeah.
love?
Yeah. I can't even remember. It must have been on Instagram or something. I don't know. One of those reels that was like they had all of these older couples and they're like taking the partner's hand and helping them, step up onto the curb or, putting uh, all of these little loving interactions. And I'm finding myself getting emotional just remembering part of the caption was how many times did was there forgiveness? How many times, did repair happen? How many times did someone say I'm sorry?
Mhm.
How many times, did they say I love you? And so knowing love is I see you with all of your flaws and imperfections. And I also see the beauty of the human that you are and the gift that you are to me. And I can hold that paradox.
It's the unspoken things, right? The holding the hand to
Yeah.
help somebody step. It's very little things that show love, and I think we miss them. And possibly when we get older, maybe we're able to see them more because all the outside noise starts to quiet down.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why in RLT, that cherishing piece is a winning strategy. It's the winning strategy that outweighs all of the others combined because the cherishing piece sees those things.
Yeah.
The cherishing piece recognizes that's not just little things. That is the way, right? Um, and that's the security that comes with putting all those reps in and being relational over and over again. By the way, this might sound provocative. I don't believe that any relationship feels safe, but we can find security in our
Yep.
relationships. And
Mhm.
it's that. It's like I'm showing up and I'm showing up in my mature self as much as possible. And when I don't show up in my mature self, I own it and work to make repair.
Right, right. And that's where the kindness and generosity also comes up, right? Because we're
Mhm.
human and we
Yeah.
are going to use our immature mechanisms. And then, you know, it's up to us to forgive our partner for doing that,
Mhm.
right? And be generous and kind
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
forgiving.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, because at the end of the day, that's also love. Not that we're, you know, encouraging or enabling that behavior,
right.
but being kind and not making it into a bigger,
That's it.
worse
That's it.
thing, right?
That's it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can retaliate, and that's a losing
Mhm.
strategy.
Yeah.
I can take my partner's apology and be retaliatory and just, like, pound it
Mhm.
in, and there have been ways that I've done that in the past.
Mhm.
Who's
Yeah.
that benefiting? Nobody. It feels good to that immature part of me, but long
Mhm.
term, it doesn't bring any relational joy, right? It
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
creates more disconnection. So
Yeah.
it's seeing ourselves clearly too, not just our partner's imperfection. It's seeing our own, um
Imperfections. Yeah.
yeah, it's seeing our own actions, clearly.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, this is just absolutely wonderful. Such an important conversation, right? I'm
I'm having
almost
so
like,
much fun. Yeah.
I know, I'm almost like, should I go and learn this stuff or should I just come to you with my husband?
Come
You
to
know?
our boot camp. Come to our 2-day
Yeah.
workshops.
Yeah.
I mean, we go through all of the, kind of all of the phases of the model, and we
Mhm.
help you to identify how you're shooting yourself in the foot and
Mhm.
start to build a skill set around doing things differently. My husband and I teach them together, and it's one of our favorite things that we do, to just see how the people in this space come together and
Yeah.
how transformational these 2 long short days
Yeah, yeah.
can
No,
be.
I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna definitely look into whenever you're having,
Yeah.
the next boot camp. If I don't show up, just be like, "Oh, I'm coming to your couples counseling.
Hello.
Can you fit me in?" But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I
and that's the thing. I mean, we totally believe that we can be proactive around our
mhm,
relationship. Things don't have
yeah,
to be falling apart for us to learn how to be more
absolutely.
relational. I Like I said, our relationship was pretty solid, and it's become even more so. This is a practice that I wish I had when we were raising our kids. It's just I can't speak highly enough about my personal experience, much less,
Yeah,
professionally.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that I did not know about this modality.
Yeah.
I am so thankful that we did this because I
Yeah,
have
me
learned so
too.
much.
Yeah.
You know, you can put these things together. Actually, you can know them separately, but putting them together
Yeah.
is like what's important, right? Like
Totally.
a skill here or there, but how do you actually use them and
Use
how
them
do
when it
you
matters. Yeah.
right. And how do you put all of this together? Because a lot of the times what we do is we start practicing one thing, but then we forget the other one.
Yeah.
And that's also like, you know, you need to learn how to do a little bit of everything before you can get to that point.
Yeah.
And and I agree that relationships don't have to be falling apart or actually not get like before they get to that point, maybe learn some of the skills, right?
As you're saying this, our oldest son just got married. And,
I saw the pictures.
yeah, such a joyful
Congratulations.
day. Thank you.
Mhm.
He and his fiancée came to one of our workshops,
Yeah.
and it was just so meaningful and touching for me that they are going into their relationship with this foundation and this skill
Mhm.
set. Yeah, so it was just really cool. We're not taught how to be relational in our society.
Mhm.
So much of our society is the opposite of relational.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and people come to our workshops individually too.
Yeah.
Um, so you don't have to come as part of a couple. You can come on your own. I have in the past attended another colleague's workshop or boot camp by myself,
Yeah.
and that was so powerful as well.
Yeah. I think during my child and adolescent fellowship, the pandemic hit at that time, and
Yeah.
UF hosts these online. I can't remember what they're called. I was single, but I attended it anyways
Yeah.
because they teach you all these like techniques and like talk about what you can do. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's based on relational life therapy, but with that being said, anything, even individually, we need to work on ourselves before, anything
Yes.
else. And like you said, that it helps with other relationships too. So it's not just the romantic relationships, it's
Right.
all our relationships in which love is involved, right?
This work has allowed me to have conversations with my parents that I would have never dreamed possible. And given the chaos, that was part of my childhood,
Mhm.
that's very meaningful to me as well.
I think that some of the stuff that I have learned is from group relations therapy,
Mhm.
like group relations work, not therapy,
Mhm.
and just like group psychodynamics that has
Mhm.
helped me too because like families are groups, right?
Totally,
So
yeah, systems in and
that
of themselves,
that
yep.
has really helped me, and I ended up dragging my husband to one of the conferences,
Yeah.
and he did really well. I was, like, really surprised. I was, like, because the first time I attended, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Because, like, people are very honest and raw emotions come up, and
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
just telling you what they think about you in
yeah.
these, conferences, and so it was very emotional for me and very difficult, but it was very helpful to kinda look
Mm,
on the inside to see,
yeah,
"Okay, what am I doing? What do I need to do differently?" And he
yeah.
went and he did really well, and I was like, "Okay, well,
That's
maybe we can
amazing.
do more, work as a couple too."
That's
So,
amazing. Yeah, what a gift to each other. What a gift you
yeah,
each gave each other. Yeah,
yeah,
I was studying the model and then, my husband was listening as I was watching training videos and stuff. And then eventually we were like, wait a minute, why don't you do this certification as well? So I
yeah.
did the therapist certification. He's completed the coaching certification.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna look into whenever your next, boot camp is for sure, and
Yeah,
we will come
yeah. You are
because,
so
you know
welcome.
yeah, because I know on my own that I'm, like, constantly catching myself in, like, these
Mhm.
a lot of it is, knowing without love,
Yes.
that part
Yeah.
because, we're gonna be coming up to our 2 years next month.
Yeah,
So
congratulations. That's
thank
so
you.
exciting.
Thank you, yeah. So,
So you're
as, like,
definitely
your
entrenched in that phase, yeah.
yeah, yeah, so
You're like,
so
"Oh,
it's
this
like,
is
okay, a
it.
lot
Here it
of
is."
right, and I'm older,
Mhm,
so I a lot of the things I did know going
mhm,
in, but then it's
mhm,
also different, like that honeymoon phase, right? As it
mhm.
fades, then the knowing is also more prominent.
That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
And I don't
but
know about you, but there's a way in which, as a practitioner, there's a knowing, and then personally, you know
yes,
so
absolutely. It's
sometimes for me,
completely different.
separating those is what is necessary. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like and I in therapy too, I like that's why I do my individual therapy.
Mhm.
I've been now at this point with my current therapist since I moved to Tampa, I've been seeing my therapist for 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
And so, I
Yeah.
feel like that is essential,
Yeah.
especially when you're in this field
Yeah.
because you forget that you can teach others, but are you actually practicing
Living
it?
it. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
living it,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that that's so important, and it was such a pleasure
Yeah.
talking to you. Thank you for sharing some
Oh,
of the personal stuff because that makes such a huge difference,
you
right?
know what? We in this work, I am a fellow traveler. Like,
Yeah.
this is part of the work. I'm in my own relational recovery. On a bad day, when each of us are wearing our own history colored lenses, our relationship looks just as messy as everybody else's. So
Mhm.
that's part of it too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being so honest. I
Yeah.
really do
Yeah.
appreciate it, and
Thanks for
at
a
the
great
end
conversation. Yeah.
I know, this was amazing. I expected it to be very,
Aw, yeah.
very good. So, and I learned so much.
Oh, good.
So I always like to ask,
Mhm.
how are you really doing?
How am I really doing? Well, as we're recording, it's the holiday season. So there's a part of me that is excited to be with family and excited to kind of slow down over the
Mhm.
next couple of weeks. And there's a part of me that is grieving because our middle son is living in Spain with his girlfriend, and they are teaching English to Spanish kids, and they are not coming home for the holidays. And
Mm,
this will be the first year that that has happened. So
yeah,
a part of me is really joy filled and a part of me is grieving. So that's how I'm really doing.
that's
But
a
right
nice
now, feeling
idea.
such connectedness with
Yeah.
you and appreciation for that.
Yeah, likewise. I'm so glad that we made this happen.
Yeah.
Um, I feel so good right now because
Yeah.
of this very wholesome conversation.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Before we close, I always ask, how are you really doing? Thank you so much for spending this time with us on How Are You Really? If something in this episode spoke to you, send it to a friend, leave a review, or follow the show. It really helps. Until next time.